What's wild, like the journey just happens from random conversations.
Like there's one, we're like not the black sheep, but we're just the outlier in the family.
I made $157,000 in just poker in 2022. What I love to do, I had to find that passion 20 years later.
Welcome back to Cracking the Success Vault. We're here today with Chris Hanna. I'm guessing president, CEO, owner, whatever you gave yourself title of All In Content. Thanks for taking the time out of your day. I know you do a lot of this stuff for a lot of businesses here in the Windsor, Essex area. But let's start with kind of, your upbringing, where you grew up. I know you've moved around a lot with a former career. But let's get into kind of where you grew up, how you grew up, and then we'll bring it back to kind of Windsor, Essex.
Well, I'm excited to be on this side of it first, I will say, because I've recorded you a lot and been on the other side asking you questions. So this is a nice treat for me. So again, Chris Hanna, All In Content, but where I started, I feels like I'm going to be like saying like I'm a John Mellencamp song, because I was born in a small town. I was raised in a small town, and maybe at some point I'll die in a small town. Small town, Moncton, Ontario, 300 people on a good day. Most people are related to everybody. Everybody knew everybody's business. My whole life couldn't wait to get out of the small town.
Okay.
Big thing for me though would be like going to London was then considered a large town.
Right.
So I never had been on a city bus by the time I even went to like university. Like I'm such a small town kid. So I went to university in St. Catharines, went to Brock University. They said, if you can walk and talk, you can go to Brock. I went there because they threw the most money at me. Gave me a degree in business communications. And at that point, when I was in school, I always just loved media and I loved business, but I didn't know what the hell I was going to do with it.
Right.
And I got the safe job I was told to get. My parents were very much like, just play it safe, just get a job. So I got a job with Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I was renting cars. I hated cars, but I was all about learning how to run a business.
Right.
My goal was stay there for 6 months and then get my MBA. It lasted 4.5 years.
Okay.
Got fired. Learned a lot, about that. Had to rebuild myself, but I was like really successful in that running of a business and becoming branch manager of the year and everything with it. Then I got into the IT world. I was there for about 9.5 years. Had a lot of success. The old F word comes again.
Yeah.
Get fired. And during that time, while I was kind of in this IT space, I started building out side hustles. I started trying to find ways to create my own money through speaking, because I used to speak and act as a kid. I used to love just being in front of people and performing. And so I started finding ways to do that. And it was all about creating content and building my own personal brand. But eventually, you're trying to build your own personal stuff and you're trying to work for somebody else. It comes to an end,
Clashes.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So this happens, of course, in the pandemic. And I'm going to fast forwarding through this really quick and we can pick apart whatever you want after. I then said, I'm going to finally do this. I'm going to build my own business. I didn't know what I was going to do when I got fired. I started doing coaching, like leadership coaching, because I led 500 people throughout my career. I did that for a few months. And then I saw a posting saying, hey, we're looking for a VP of operations of a real estate education company. I'm not a real estate guy. They said, we want you to send a video in. If you send a video instead of a resume, that'd be great. I'm like, VP probably pays pretty well. I don't know what this company does, but I'm going to submit a video anyways, because I'm creative and I like doing video.
Yeah.
I do the video. Next thing I know, get an interview, go through the process, and I get hired as a VP of operations for a company here in Windsor. It was remote during the pandemic at the time, and 6 months later, become the CEO. Start really learning how to run a business, trial by fire, really tough in an industry I had nothing to do with. Moved to Windsor. And I realized I can't work for somebody else. I can't implement somebody else's vision. And eventually, after making really good money as a CEO, I decided to walk away. My wife and I had a conversation saying, you should go all in, bet on yourself. And here we are now, flash forward a few years, and I've been doing that now, betting on myself and continuing to change and evolve.
Yeah. And that's got to be a fun thing, because I do know that you love poker.
That's right.
Right?
So that's a massive part of my life for 20 years.
Right. That's interesting. I love poker. I'm not very good at it. I can play the odd game with friends. I still have lots to learn.
Yeah.
But that we'll talk about that in the future there. So, okay. So a little bit to unpack there. How did you grow up in terms of family?
So I'm the oldest of 3 boys.
Okay.
My dad never graduated from high school. He worked in factories, most of his life. I saw him though at times, factories close, NAFTA comes in, factory closed, moves to Mexico, loses his job. Another factory starts up, same building, loses his job. And so a lot of that. So our family was really struggling financially. My mom worked stay at home, kind of took care of us. So she ran a little bit of a babysitting business. And I remember as a kid saying, hey, Mom, I don't think you're charging enough money for all this work. But that was just the business kid in me. But just grew up in this rural community and not having a lot of money. I then started working really early, like 12 years old, because my parents couldn't afford stuff. When I said, if I want stuff, I got to go buy it myself.
Right.
I didn't want the hand-me-downs from my uncles, right? I just wanted to go and do whatever I wanted to do. So I was very independent. So I would be like flipping pogs at recess, if you remember, if you know
there you go.
Pogs.
I love that game.
Hockey cards. I would go and buy hockey cards, at the market, and I would go and sell them to other people. In high school, cassette tapes. I'm gonna age myself here. I recorded myself going through a textbook because I was pretty good in school. I was really good in school. Like, here's all the key points that someone needs to know. I would sell these cassette tapes that are summaries of the textbook to the worst school kids. And I'd say, play this at night when you're going to sleep and you'll subliminally learn. You don't have to waste time trying to study. Just play this. And so people would. And then they'd tell my mom, hey, I'm tired of hearing your son's voice when I go to sleep because I can hear the cassette tape that my son bought off him. So I'm like, yeah, just making money, hustling. I'm just hustling.
Crazy.
Doing a lot of stuff.
Just like a serial entrepreneur.
Very much so. Like, we have garage sales. I'm out there all day, like just trying to make deals, make things happen. I loved the idea of trying to make money on my own. Right. And then eventually you get jobs and you start to do that. But I would have multiple jobs. I'd have a paper route. And, back then I'm delivering the Toronto Star, which was pretty damn thick. Yeah. Biking around, trying to run away from dogs that are trying to chase me, like the classic stuff. I worked in an arena, cleaning up the floors, doing stuff too. Like, I did everything I possibly could to make money. Right. And I've worked at Zellers back in the day too for a long time. Right.
And so does a serial entrepreneur in you come from, you think, seeing your father get a job, get fired, get a job, get fired? Is it because your family had money made ends meet, but never had enough to give you what you wanted? Where did that stem from?
I think a part of it is from, my dad losing his job and struggling with it. I think a part of it is also my grandpa had a farm and he really instilled in us. And we would spend a lot of time with our grandparents, working hard, and he'd be providing for himself and for his family. Mm-hmm. And so I think I learned a lot of lessons from him. My mom, like I said, she had a babysitting business for like 15 years of my life too. So there's a little bit of an entrepreneurialism there. But I just always wanted more. And I couldn't get more from my parents. They didn't have the money to do it. And I was like, well, who can I rely on other than myself? Mm-hmm. Like, I've always been super independent. My mom and my dad will say that to this day. They're like, I was the kid at 3 years old that instead of going and playing with toys, I'm reading the newspaper and I'm trying to come up with ways to better myself. And I'd go to conferences. My first conference I went to was actually here in Windsor when I was 7 years old. I was sent to a conference to go and speak at. Crazy. Like a leadership conference for kids and stuff, through the church that we grew up in. Wow. I've always been very much kind of older than my age was. Right. And just trying to find ways to continue to grow. Right.
Are your siblings like that?
My middle sibling, he is a plumber. So he's kind of going through and trying to learn that business for the last couple of years. My other one is a teacher. Okay. And we all live in different parts of the world. So my teacher, he lives in England. My brother lives in BC. And so here I am in Windsor.
Interesting. And so do your siblings have similar beliefs in terms of the hard work providing for themselves? How come
they work really hard, but they are not the people who would do a business. Okay. That's not something that is appealing to them. Yeah. They'll rather work for other people. There's some independent stuff that they like to kind of do. They're incredibly hardworking. Yeah. But everyone thinks it's crazy that I'm running a business because that's not something that we do. Right. In our family. Mm-hmm. I'm probably the first Hanna that's probably run their own business.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think I'm very similar in that sense. My dad got introduced to financial services when I was 12 or 13, and I was just starting my swim career. And he didn't want to take a bet on himself because, he needed to provide for my career and all that kind of stuff. But similar thing. I mean, I'm the youngest of three, but, I'm the athlete, hyper competitive, go do my own thing, can't work for somebody else, don't want to punch a clock. And the rest of my family is not that way. My sisters are both, I mean, one might be a stay-at-home mom. I think she picks up some hours at the hospital every now and then, but they're like unit clerks. I think they got into administration now as well, which is kind of followed in my mom's footsteps. But yeah, same thing. There's just kind of like, there's one, we're like not the black sheep, but we're just the outlier in the family, right?
Like, I remember my dad being in the manufacturing space, ended up being the president of the CAW, the union for the place that he worked at. And I would always go with him. And even I'm like 10, 12 years old or whatever it was, like I'm sitting there, I'm doing a lot of the computer work for him. And then he's like asking for advice. Like, I felt like at times I was definitely like the adult. I'm not trying to like, kind of shoot down on my dad or anything like that, but I definitely was always, I wanted to be the leader. I wanted to be in charge. And so throughout my career, I always found myself in a leadership position.
Right.
And my dad said to me, even just recently this past weekend, he's like, Christopher, which I hate being called Christopher, but they call me Christopher. He's like, Christopher, you always had to be the person in charge. It's your way or the highway. Yeah. And he's like, that's probably why you got fired twice. Right.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that happens, right? You either see how things could be done more efficiently, you think that there could maybe be done just better a different way, and you can't just sit by and not have something be done as efficiently as possible.
Yeah, I can't do something that I don't believe in as well. Yeah. And I'm a big believer in what I call challenging the process. I read this book probably, I think it was my third year of university. It was all about leadership. And they talk about the 4 or 5 core areas of leadership. And I can still remember to this day. They talk first about like modeling the way. So always leading by example. Next is you want to inspire a shared vision. So you want to be inspirational, aspirational, and really try and push it. And then the third part was really challenging the process. And so that's what I really tried to make my mark in my career. I'm going to challenge every process that I think is outdated. If there's a piece of technology, how can we change it? How can we make it better? I went to, especially in the IT space, I would go and talk to vendors and say, hey, why don't we change your product around? And why don't we make it this? I'd find ways to try and make it better, but then also be stupid in the fact that I'm giving them all these ideas that they're making a ton of money on. And they did implement and make a ton of money on that I should have got credit for.
Sure.
I'm a big believer in just, if there's a way to do it, why not do it differently and make it more efficient?
Right. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I think financial services, I think people could learn from that, because that's really something that Jason and I try to do is, every single one of our clients, we do a before and after snapshot. If you continue to do what you're doing now, this is the path it's going to lead to. This is what retirement looks like. This is whatever. If you implement minor changes, this could be the path that you go down. And I think so many people fear the unknown that they don't even want to investigate what changing the status quo is, right? The saying that is typically used, I think, is, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
Right.
Right. But so many times, if someone would just take a look at what could be done better, instead of just, well, it just is, life could be so much different.
And so I've always taken the path of, like, you talk about the devil analogy or that statement there, right? I was like, well, I'll dance with the devil. I want to try the other side to see what can come from it.
Right.
What's exciting? What's new? What can happen there by doing something that no one else has ever done? I love being like the first to do something.
Interesting.
And so I'm much a risk taker.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of the gambler in me.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I know a few friends that gamble as well. They're very much like that. They've had very hard times kind of getting a quote unquote real job doing something for themselves, which is interesting, because they'll gamble money, but they won't go build themselves a business.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You ever thought about just full on becoming a professional poker player?
100%. When I was in university, I paid my way through university by what I call professional gambling. Being in St. Catharines, 20 minutes away from Niagara Falls. So my buddy and I, we looked at a lot of the games and we said, okay, how do we turn this into a business? And so what we do, we play certain games like unemotionally, like what we need to do, make the money, that's it. I'd say I'd make $1,000 a day or lose $1,000 a day, playing poker online or going in person. Sometimes going 2 or 3 times a day when I was in university there. There's many times where I've eclipsed my entire year's income with like playing poker and gambling as well.
Yeah.
Right. And so I've always had for the last 20 years, a big percentage of my income has been related to poker. I don't look at it as gambling though, because it's such a skill game.
Yes.
Right? It's different than like going and playing a slot machine. Like that's gambling.
Correct.
Like you're putting it in, it's whatever the system's going to spit
Yeah, you're
out.
playing another person, you're playing the odds, you're playing, sometimes you're not even playing the cards that are in front of you.
That's right.
Right.
Like there's so many different variables at play, right? Like if I look at my best year ever from like a poker perspective, and it's not like it's super exceptional, but like I made $157,000 in just poker in 2022.
Wow.
Okay. That same year, I'll be honest, I had made $150,000 as my salary for my job.
Right.
So I made over $300,000 in 2022 because half of it or over half of it was gambling,
Right.
poker. The other half is that. And then that doesn't include all the side hustles and everything else I did that year.
Right.
And the reason I did so well that year is because I invested in training.
Right.
I love poker. Everyone knows the best poker player from a Canadian perspective is Daniel Negreanu.
Yeah.
I signed up for Masterclass. He had a program on there. So it cost me $100 to go and watch all of his courses. And then I won a tournament. I took a $100 investment and I put into a tournament, made $1,000. 24 hours later, made $100,000
Wow.
from a $100 investment.
Crazy.
And then I continue just making
winning
more
a tournament,
winning a tournament, and just continuing to win.
Just
other
continuing
like
to win.
stuff over 24 hours.
Right.
And then I made more over the course of the year for the extra 57,000 or whatever it was.
Right. Wow. Why don't you just do that full time?
People ask me that all the time. The swings
Yeah.
can
I
be
can
tough,
see that. Yeah.
right? I'm on my worst losing streak ever in the last year.
But that's probably because you're not investing the time.
I have no time right now because I'm working so hard on my core business.
Yeah.
Right. But I love the game. Absolutely love the game. I usually used to go to Vegas like 3 or 4 or 5 times a year, and I'd find I'd have success there. Here, I've not had the time to go and do it as much. Playing locally, I've never had luck in Windsor though.
Really?
I always seem to lose. I've never done it, and I know we have at some point we'll probably talk about it. We have a tournament coming up in a year
Yeah.
that we're going to do here, but I have never made any money here in Windsor playing poker. Everywhere else.
Interesting.
It's so weird. I'm like cursed here.
Weird.
And I'm not doing it a ton,
Right.
but say over the course of say like a dozen tournaments over the course of the last year and over the last couple of years of different stuff, never cashed.
Interesting. Yeah, because of our event coming up here, October of 2026. I started getting back into poker. I'm gonna start learning a little bit more because I do love the game. I don't have, like yourself, I don't have a ton of time to put into it. But when I do, I want to show at that tournament. I just want to have some fun. I don't want to be the first one out. I know luck can sometimes come at you anyways, but I'm going to give myself the best shot. That's interesting. That's fun.
It's been a part of my life though, so much like the concept of all in.
Yeah.
Like I was in university when I learned how to play poker. And I remember the guys I lived with say, Chris, do you want to come and play poker? I said, I don't know how to play. I used to play a lot of games as a kid, as a family. That's what we do. Money. We played board games, right? But I said, okay, I'll learn. And then I won that night. And then I'm like, oh, this is kind of like this is something I can win. And I started watching tapes and the World Poker Tour and all that stuff back in the heyday of Chris Moneymaker and everything. And then I just applied that to my entire life. Like I love it so much. Like I got married in Las Vegas.
Sweet.
Right? Elvis walked us down the aisle.
Very cool.
My wedding ring says all in on it. Like it's been a whole part of my life.
Yeah. How do you think does your wife like it? Does she hate it?
She doesn't she knows how to play poker, but she doesn't do it. She likes when I win money. That's important.
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
I think right now because I've been on a bit of a cold streak, it's like I don't really talk about the poker side too much.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
But she knows it's a huge part of who I am.
Right.
And I think it's a big part of why I'm the entrepreneur I am now too. And heck, my company's all in content.
100%. Yeah. I mean, listen, I think you have to have that self-belief of I'm going to go do it. I'm going to bet on myself, right? That's really what this podcast is talking about, the things that make every single one of us different, unique, successful, etc. But let's digress from the poker. I could talk poker all day long. Let's go back to Brock University.
Yep.
Why business? Why communication? Why any lessons there that you learned that have actually transferred into success in the real world? I know last time when you and I talked, I got a story about a sales teacher that taught me something about how to look at my life, and that's kind of what has come to be 15 years later. Any of those things for you?
So I'll step back even to high school. So high school, my favorite class I had was business in grade 10. Absolutely had it. I loved it. Did so well. The second favorite was English media. We got to record a commercial back in the day. So I got to be the writer, the director, star in it, and it was a team effort, but I was taking all the roles because I just like to take over. So I loved those two. And when I was then trying to figure out what am I going to do next, I had a couple options. I went and I sat in on some radio broadcasts because I thought about going into radio broadcasting. And then I realized I'm not going to be able to talk about what I want to talk about if I become a radio broadcaster. Yeah. Then someone's like, why don't you become a teacher? So I went and volunteered, school. I realized being a teacher is not for me. So I'm like, okay, the things I loved in high school, business in the media side, I should apply to some sort of program related to that.
Right.
So I applied and I didn't want to go business admin because everyone who did business admin that I knew became an accountant. I hate numbers. Absolutely hate it. You can sit there and you can work through a spreadsheet.
Love it.
That's painful for me.
Love it.
Absolutely the worst torture you could give me.
Yeah.
But if I can be creative and I can find a way to make money, I'll do something like that. So I go through school. When I was about to try and graduate, I actually applied to work at the WWE because I love wrestling. I also applied at Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment. When I talked to WWE, they said we only have internships available, which means you'd have to work for a year, not paid. My family has no money.
Right.
I can't do that. I can't do that. So that's when I eventually did the enterprise, the safe bet, to kind of learn how to run a business.
Yeah.
The lesson I think that I learned through university is that my program was so unique. You have two options for almost every class. You could either do a presentation or you could do an essay. I always did a presentation.
Right.
98% of people did an essay. So that I'm getting opportunity to speak, I'm getting opportunity to perform, I'm getting opportunity to kind of build something at a different kind of level and stage. Right. And to me, it's like, that's what I want to do for my life. It just took me almost 20 years to get there.
Right.
To do it. And that's, I think, the big lesson is like, what I love to do, I had to find that passion 20 years later in order to do what I'm doing now.
Right. Interesting. And earlier you mentioned about being like 7 years old or something like that, getting to a conference and speaking from a church perspective. Is it something that you just knew you loved doing early on?
I always I don't know if it was in your school you had this where kids would go and do like a poem in front of a class or they do a speech or whatever. So I would go and do that. And so grade 1 through grade 8, I was valedictorian. Every time there's a speaking opportunity, I would go and do it. And I'd go and I win. I still have my medals that I have from when I was a kid. Nice. Where I win first or either the first or third. I never got second. So I would win all these competitions, but then I'd also act. And so I just knew I loved talking and performing. And so to me, carrying that forward then helped me go to that conference when I was, 7 years old and going and speaking and then going and doing other, stuff in school. I stopped doing drama though in high school because I didn't think it was cool from a girl's perspective. Sure. I didn't think the girls would like that, even though they probably would have. So I'm like, okay, I'll focus on working and making money so I can go pay for the dates that I would do. Right.
Right. Interesting. Okay. And so finish university at Brock.
Go to Enterprise.
Get Enterprise. I assume you started in a sales role of some kind, and I know that you got up to management running a couple different things. Yeah. What was that process like? Why did we get into the management side of things in terms of running different offices / branches?
So the way the model works is everyone starts as a management trainee. So you start at the bottom. You are basically running through picking customers up, cleaning the cars, all wearing your suit and tie. Yeah. You are then also trying to sell them insurance. You're trying to sell them the collision damage waiver. If you could then, after about a year, qualify for what's a management basically test to see, are you eligible to try and become an assistant manager? So I'd say during that first year, I was learning the business. I was working at a couple different branches. I got moved within the St. Catharines area. I started learning how to sell. I started learning how to overcome objections. And I didn't like what I was doing. I absolutely hated it. I was actually probably pretty miserable and disengaged. Yeah. But I was teaching me how to learn. And then after the year mark, I was able to be eligible to try and do this test, and I became assistant manager 2 days later, and I had moved to Hamilton. Okay. But I'm 2 years old or something like that, or whatever it was, learning how to become a manager of people. I was used to being school project leader, but never managing actual people. Right. That became really tough. How to manage people at 22 years old and people who are also older than me.
I was about to say, there's probably some challenges with that. One, they're probably older than you. Two, you're handling a whole different variety of challenges. It's no longer customer focused. It's now team focused, and the people that you're working with all the time. They're
And
not
you're
just
also
like
measured,
one-off transactions.
and you're measured on like profitability,
right?
And you're trying to read financial statements. And I didn't have any training in that. It was basically, you're now a assistant manager. You're going to learn from this manager, and you're going to have, there was 5 employees, I think, at the time, in a new city that I didn't know anything about Hamilton.
Right.
And Hamilton's a different town, right? It was very much like a blue collar town. There's a lot of issues with some people not bringing vehicles back and having to chase people down for stuff.
Crazy.
Like repo kind of things happening.
Yeah.
Like it was wild. And I realized, and I almost, I kind of started getting into some trouble because of my, I'm going to call it attitude a little bit,
Okay.
being like, I was being too aggressive. Like I started as a shitty leader, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
I would say, do this because I'm in charge. I didn't
Right.
know any different.
Yeah.
And so an opportunity came to me and they said, look, a couple people are complaining about your leadership style. There's an opportunity to go and run a store by yourself. Most people will not want to do this. You can run your store by yourself, or you can keep doing what you're doing, but if you keep going down this path, you might get fired. I'm like, I'll go run a store by myself.
Right.
I don't want to work with
This
other
is
people.
perfect.
And so I then ran a store by myself. It was a brand new territory, and I absolutely crushed it. Became one of the best stores in the region. From there, I started getting promoted again to other stores. And I realized I learned some lessons from that first one.
Right.
And started becoming a better leader, coaching people, the importance of one-on-ones, and developing myself in them at the same time. And then eventually become, actual branch manager of different stores and stuff like this as well.
And in that process, obviously there was a lot of self-awareness, self-realization that had to happen.
Right.
But what would you say would be 2 or 3 lessons that somebody else could take from that in terms of how to build yourself into somebody else and how to coach them and develop them to make them want to stick around, to make them, get better at their job, their career, their whatever, instead of just being an employee who punches the clock and punches out?
I think the key word that comes to mind when you say that is actually around communication. Communication, not only just with like other people, but communication with yourself, right? Like I was very disengaged and miserable, but like I had to maybe tell myself, you know what, you got to go through and you got to do this because it's going to pay your bills. You got to have a level of responsibility. Like having some self communication to guide myself along the path to eventually being successful. The other thing I think was really important is eventually starting to become more goal oriented. I started to look at how much money do I want to make each year as what was going to help me be taking it to the next level. How can I be a better leader? Well, I need to figure out what's that goal. So if I wanted to say easy numbers, like $50,000 I wanted to make back then, I was like, because I started at 30,000. I'm like, if I wanted to get to that, what do I need to do? How do I reverse engineer my goals and my path to actually make something happen? Right. And then eventually when I was like, I want to make $100,000, what do I need to do then? What's the level of investment in myself? What do I need to learn to take it there? So it was like communication, goals, and then really just like investing in myself. Those big 3 helped me take it to that next level in that part of my career.
Right. And how did those things help when it came to actually like coaching and developing other people?
So then I was able to then share my stories with them, right? Because I would see you're going down the same path I was. You're maybe struggling with how to communicate with people, or you're struggling to lead people, especially when I had like assistant managers and stuff report to me, right? I started to realize I'm like, I can then share my story and my struggles with them to then, hey, let's work on goals with you. So I would then, since that day one now, I work with every employee that I've ever had on like, what's your personal, professional, financial goals? How can I as a leader help you?
Right.
How can I then have a one-on-one with you to figure out what do we need to work on together, and realizing that my job as a leader is actually to help my people succeed. It's not about me just getting ahead. It's about my people getting ahead.
Right.
I started to shift that and to shift the conversation and realize I need to communicate way more often with employees than I ever had with my leaders. Right. My leaders just like, okay, you're now promoted, figure it out.
Right.
And then
thrown into the fire.
That's right.
Who knows?
That's right.
And most people can't work like that.
That's right.
Interesting. And okay, and so there's a few things that have come up. You are very much like this is where I'm going, and I'm going there, and whatever I have to learn along the way, I'm going to learn along the way.
Figure it out.
Just figure it out.
Yeah.
Seat of your pants, just go figure it out.
That's right.
Right? Where'd that come from?
I think just being independent my entire life, really. And just also speed is one of my core values. And I don't want to stop to think about it. I'll just go.
Right.
And sometimes it bites me in the ass and I
Sure.
get in trouble, sure. But I'm just going to do it because I'm a big believer. You just have to do it. Like one of my favorite movies is Back to the Future, right? And in Back to the Future, they say, if you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything. Well, I can put my mind to a lot of stuff. I just found I'm gonna find a way to execute.
Right.
I don't care what it takes to make sure I execute it, and I'll get the job done. Now, probably now, like all these years later, my 40s, like I probably need to like be a little bit more methodical on some stuff and not work as hard as I probably do. But like I'll do whatever it takes to get the job done.
Right. Okay. So crazy work ethic.
Insane.
Obviously.
Insane. I can work with I lose track of time.
Yeah. And I have that same feeling, right? Like there are days when you're just grinding, and you're like, you look up and you're like, I can't believe it's 8:00 at night right now. Like this is crazy. So 4.5 years at Enterprise, moved on to an IT company.
Right.
And then all of a sudden now you're VP of a real estate company, and now you're doing your own thing.
Yeah.
So what lessons do you think you learned along the way that are helping you build your business now at All In Content to growing as much as it's been growing? I mean, I've only known you for, I guess, a year. We started doing this roughly around last year
like
this time.
Yeah.
So it's only really been 12 months, but you're constantly adding clients. You're constantly adding editors. You're constantly having to hire people because part of it is your content is amazing.
Thank you.
The stuff that, I mean, Jason and I talked about doing this kind of stuff, but, you know, we had a few different people and the ideas were good and the execution was okay, but it was never like this. And so, you know, you bring the ideas to us. Again, right now you're coming to us so that we don't have to go anywhere. Obviously, that's going to change in the future, hopefully, when people can come to you a little bit more. But what lessons did you learn along the way from Enterprise to the IT company to VP of a company that is allowing you right now to do what you love doing? Because I know you love it.
Yeah.
And hopefully turn it into a pretty big brand here in Windsor, Essex.
So I've been really fortunate throughout my career that most of the work that I have done, like outside of some enterprise stuff, has been B2B. It's been working with so many different business owners. And so whether it was in the IT space, whether it was enterprise, whether it was, you know, on this real estate education front, I was always working with other fellow business owners. And as someone who was always entrepreneurial, I was able to learn what do business owners think about, you know, how do they operate? How do they move? I've surrounded myself with so many great people and mentors and invested in so much training that, like, when it comes to All In Content, when I started creating it, and I was like, well, what do business owners need? Mm-hmm. And I'm always putting myself as like, I'm the ideal client for my business. So then I was like, oh, I need to come up with as done for you as possible content solutions. Mm-hmm. Because you as a business owner need to do what you do best, and you need to outsource the rest to somebody else like me.
Right.
So it was putting all the years of collective experiences, all the conversations I've had with so many different levels and different businesses to understand what do they need and how can I deliver it. And also, I used to try and create all this stuff myself. Mm-hmm. I started all my content journey in 2017, 2016, something like that. And I wish that I had all this help way back then. So I'm like, I went through the struggles on behalf of everyone is the way I look at it.
Right.
And now I'm able to actually offer this to other people because I've already done the work for you. I've invested in all the equipment. I've invested in all the software.
Yeah.
So you don't have to sit there and try and do it yourself.
Yeah. That's very unique because I think if it wasn't a seamless process the way it has been, I don't know if Jason and I would have put the time into it.
Yeah.
You know, we are so busy growing our business and helping people and doing sales and at the same time learning our systems and processes and you know, figuring out our training program and all that kind of stuff, that it would have been really hard to have to also come up with the content, to also come up with where are we going to shoot and how are we going to shoot and what are we going to talk about? Like all that stuff is just stuff that we just don't have time for.
The funny thing is that all in content wasn't created by intention.
Yeah.
So I leave being...
Which is interesting as a business, that it just kind of happened.
So let me get into this story here for you. So I leave being CEO of this real estate education company, and I was like, what do I do? I didn't know what to do. I had talked to a lot of... Nope. Wasn't poker, but I wanted to. I need to pay the bills. So I've hired 500 people throughout my career, right? I've done all this like leadership development stuff. I thought, should I do coaching or whatever? I go to a conference in Cleveland and I'm talking to business owners there, and I'm still working for this real estate company, and they're all complaining about the same thing. I need to hire people. I need to hire. I know I need to bring somebody in, but I don't know how to do it, or I suck at hiring or whatever. And then someone's like, I wish someone could just hire for me. So I'm driving home. And I was like, hire for me. I'm like, why don't I create a hiring company and I will hire for businesses? I'll just do it. I'm like, it seems like a simple thing. I could, charge a couple $1,000. I could post the role. I could interview. I could get them to send a video in, and I'll do that. So that's what I did. My first company was actually called Hire For Me. I still have this corp to this day. I don't talk about it because I'm so busy with all in content, but I literally would hire for businesses. And so people started, that I knew started with referrals, hiring me to go and hire for them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, how do I promote this business? Well, I'll create some video content. I hired a coach who did video content. And on a Wednesday, he said, hey, Chris, what's your plan today after our meeting? And I said, I'm going to record 50 videos. He's like, 50 videos? No one records 50 videos. I said, I will. That's no problem. Mm-hmm. I ended up recording 173 videos. And I posted all this content. I was like, okay, if I could just got the content out of the way, I can focus on all the other aspects of the business.
Right.
Well, then someone saw one of those videos. It was a roofer in Kitchener-Waterloo and said, hey, you're promoting yourself so much. You've got great content. Can you do that for me? And I was like, what do you mean do that for you? Well, can you come record me? And can we just batch record content? I'm like where? She's like, up on a roof. I was like, I'd like to do some educational content. And I'd like to do it. I was like, okay, I don't know what to charge you.
Sure.
But I'm like, I don't have equipment. I'll pull my cell phone out here. I literally just had cell phone.
Yeah.
I bought a gimbal the day before. And I'm literally on a roof, not tied in, which is probably not good. I'm literally trying to record him and just ask him questions. I came up with ideas for questions. I came up with a process. This is before AI and everything too. And I did 3 days on a roof in Kitchener-Waterloo. As a little bit of a side hustle. So I edited all that content and I gave it to him. This is before me posting. And then someone else had heard, hey, I heard you did content for this person. Can you do it for me too? Oh, and by the way, my brother also has a company. Can you put a proposal together? And I was like, wait a second. People are asking me to do work for something I've been doing just for myself for years, but they're willing to pay me.
Right.
And so I talked to my wife and she's like, there might be a business there.
Right.
I said, it might be more fun than doing this hiring thing, which is a pain in the ass.
Right.
So I said, why don't I try and do both? So I tried doing both. And then I realized I started getting busier on this content side. And I had never registered the company at that point. I'm just doing this kind of side hustle. And then I'm like, I'm going to go all in on this content stuff. I was like, there's the name. I'm going to go all in on it. Eventually, after I'd say 6 months of trying to do 2 companies at the same time, then I kind of pivoted to just focusing on all in content. And next thing I know, that first year I win 4 community votes awards here in Windsor for best social media, best advertising, best digital marketing, second best in videography. Then now this year I've won 5 awards or whatever for. I haven't published it, and it's weird. It didn't happen by intention. It happened because I was really good at doing it for myself.
Right.
So I say I'm my best customer.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because I think how I got into financial services was very similar to that. It wasn't by intention. I wasn't looking for it. I was working as a floor layer with my uncle. And we were at a guy's house and he was training somebody from home. And I just happened to be listening to what he was talking about. And, I was 21 at the time and, through my travels around the world had racked up some credit cards and didn't really know anything about money and just wanted to learn, but nobody would teach me. Nobody was, you couldn't just go to a bank and be like, hey, teach me everything there is to know about financial services.
Yeah.
And this guy is just at his house teaching somebody else and learning. And I'm like, I kept listening as I'm going from, the basement to the truck to get stuff. And they're just talking about how to pay things off faster and how to not pay interest and where to save money. And I'm just like, man, like this is so interesting. That when the job was over, when the basement was finished, I went back upstairs before I went back to the pool. And I was like, I need you to tell me what you do, how you do it, because I'm just really curious.
Yeah. And
he's like, let's go for coffee and I'll show you what we do. And that coffee was supposed to be 30 minutes. It lasted an hour. Actually, that's a lie. It lasted like probably 3 hours, I think it was. And he just, without charging me, without anything, was just like, I just want to share some knowledge.
Yeah. Just
want to teach people about money. And I was like, man, this is crazy. And then he was like, oh, by the way, we have this part-time thing where, why don't you come learn? And I was like, you mean I can get paid to learn? And he's like, yeah, of course. Like, just come in, learn the business, introduce the business to other people. You can get paid to help other people. And I was like, that's really interesting. But it happened by chance.
It's weird.
I happened to be in the right place at the right time.
And I think that for me also aligns, right? Like, I'm in the IT space for a long time. I'm going to a lot of conferences. I'd see people up on stage, and my staff I'd bring with me, and they're like, Chris, you need to be up on those stages. Like, you've got a lot of knowledge. I said, I don't even know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so I win another award for like, in the industry or whatever. And I'm like, I go up and I say, I want to go talk to the speaker. I want to ask them how they got their start. So have a couple drinks, whatever, and we're in Vegas. And I go up and I said, hey, how do I get started doing what you're doing? Because I love like the fact that like you're speaking and you're running these events and stuff. Is you got to create content. He's like, you have to start putting yourself out there. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I will, create content. I started doing blog writing. People saw some blogs and they said, hey, can you lead some webinars for me? And again, this is the side hustle stuff. I do these webinars. Next thing I know, I get invited to start speaking. I go to Vegas. I go to Florida. I do Washington, D.C. I start doing all this U.S.-based stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's from a random conversation that I have over some drinks, which I learned, I got to create content in order to build the authority so I can go get paid to go speak.
Right.
And then eventually by creating all that, then people start seeing it. And through this other journey that I've had, now it's become this business.
Right.
That's like, I'm doing well for myself and employing other people and everything.
Yeah. You're building your own little marketplace.
Yeah. And it's what's wild. Like the journey just happens from random conversations.
Right. And it's interesting because I always tell myself, and I've always told people, like, you'll never be able to connect the dots going forward, but you'll always be able to connect them backwards. And you have to have the faith in yourself that even if something is going wrong or going great, the points are going to connect themselves down the road.
That's right.
And I always say, like, if it wasn't for swimming, I wouldn't have gotten a scholarship. And if I didn't get a scholarship, I wouldn't have gone, I probably wouldn't have even gone to school. If I didn't go to school, I wouldn't have met the sales teacher that told me that thing. And if he didn't tell me that thing, I never would have been looking for an opportunity that I was looking for unknowingly. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have gotten into finance. Like you can just connect all the way back.
And I love doing that game, right? Like
it's so much fun.
That's where I say, like, getting fired twice was the best thing to ever happen for me. Not to me, but for me, because it led me to where I am today.
Right.
I had to be that. I had to go through this journey of being miserable working for other people in order to really appreciate and enjoy what working for myself and for my clients really is.
Right.
To me, it's like connecting the dots is one of the funnest games you can play.
That's really interesting. And so in terms of, success and what you're doing, where do you think you're looking at taking All In Content next?
So All In Content, I really wanted to take it to be like a full media-based company. And by that, I'm talking more than just video content. Obviously, we're doing social now. We do some website stuff. We're building out a podcast studio or a content creation studio. But I've got all the domains registered of every variation you can think of All In, right? Like All In Studios. Like I dream about movies and television shows and stuff down the road. Like I have a full media playbook of things I want to do over the next 10 to 20 years that I want to do and building out with people. Yeah. I know it's ambitious and I'm maybe not going to do everything that's on the list, but like I own about 30 different domains of my variations of where I want to take this in terms of all the next divisions I want to do.
Yeah.
And it's fun. And I don't look at what I do as work.
Yeah.
Like my wife says I do work a lot, but like I just have fun doing it.
Yeah.
And I get to meet really cool people. Like meeting you and Jason has been absolutely phenomenal, and we're going to be able to do some real cool stuff
it's been
coming up too, right? Like I love what I do.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think I'm very similar. I absolutely love what I do, and I've said it multiple times. It's hard when you want to you want to be spending time with your family, and you also want to travel the world, but you also love what you do. And when you're like, I have a hard time, going on vacation, because while I'm on vacation, I'm thinking about all the things that I get to do when I get back. Not like I have to do them. I get to do them. It's an awesome experience and a blessing that I get to do what I get to do, because it's really not hard. Yeah. Sure, there's ups and downs, as with everything, right? But I never have to worry about like, oh my God, I have to go to work today. I never have to worry about that ever. Right?
I look forward to it as a privilege.
I get to.
Yeah. It is a privilege to do what I do. And just like what you do as well, like I'm very flattered, I think, in some of my job as well, where like I have people saying like, if it wasn't for you, I never would have been on content. I never would have done videos. I never would have met this person or that person or connected. I have a lot of my regular clients all trying to poach me to say, hey, well, if this ever doesn't fall apart, can you just like come work for me?
Yeah, of course.
I had that yesterday. They said, hey, you're just an extension of our business family at this point. They're like, how can we do more together? How can I go all in? They said on Chris Hanna even more. Yeah. So like to me, it's flattering. It's great. I love doing what I do, and I can't work for other people, but like I can work on behalf of them. Yeah. But it's the ride of my life.
That's awesome. And so to wrap up, we've talked about a lot of different things, some lessons that you've learned, things other people can do. We always end the podcast with asking our guests what success means to them. So for Chris Hanna at All In Content, what does success mean to you?
Success to me is 3 F's. And by 3 F's, it means freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. My whole life, I've wanted to be free, to do what I want, when I want, where I want, with who I want. From a flexibility perspective, that comes into it. Like every year for the last number of years, I go and spend 3 weeks in Mexico, and I work from a beach, right, or a rooftop somewhere, or I go and travel, or I go to Vegas, and I'm still able to get work done. Mm-hmm. So there's the freedom, there's the flexibility. The fulfillment is the part that I've craved forever, and I felt like something was missing in my career. So being successful now is like I'm so fulfilled. When I leave and I finish this session, or I go and edit some of the other stuff that we've done, or work with my team on, I love what I'm doing because I'm able to help make an impact. Mm-hmm. I've had people break down in tears after some sessions because now they feel more confident because they've been put on camera. Like being able to help people get more leads or more business, or just getting their presence, has been so fulfilling and so rewarding that I get people to say, hey, can you come and do this? Or I'd love you to be part or be a champion of this or help support something. Like it's those 3 F's. That's what success is: freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment. Those 3 matter to me more than anything else.
That's awesome. That's a really unique sort of, I'll call it, motto to live by, which is awesome. So thanks for taking the time out of your day to sit with us here on the Success Vault podcast. And obviously, we're going to be doing a lot more stuff here in the future. So I'm excited for that.
Me too.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.